fiscal reality of the country is that these we're in dire straits, and whether you like it or not, the economy is not performing. And save and
Yeah.
except certain regions of the country where there is growth, there is no economic growth in Ontario. There's no economic growth to speak of in Quebec. We are badly indebted. We've made major commitments that we don't necessarily have to outcomes that we cannot possibly afford. We're still on the hook for a $34 billion pipeline that should have been built for zero with Kinder Morgan, and we now have find ourselves having to pay $34 billion bucks. I ask Canadians who think that's cool and that the climate folks out there who block this, along with their friends in the Liberal, NDP, and Green parties and Bloc, who thought this was a great thing, how many hospitals could have used that $34 billion? And how many waiting
Exactly.
rooms do we have? How many people waiting in line are saying, we brought out a number of people in this country. We can't get access to decent health care or other programs, but we got $34 billion bucks because we wanted to make good and allow climate alarmists to go around and really vandalize and stop something that was absolutely important to the country. Now I'm tilting on the energy side only because this would never have been tolerated in my time as a Liberal government. We would have told these people to pack up and leave, and we would have told so-called charitable organizations who fund these people, who are not charities at all, that it was time for them to cease and desist and go find another country to try to hogtie. Because at the end of the day, if Canada can't move its oil, its gas, its natural resources, we're dead in the water. There's no talk about worrying about the budget when you haven't got really a pot to do your business in and throw it, or pay for a window to throw it out of.
And it's fascinating because, of course, now the tension about moving energy, using our natural resources that could remove so much of our debt and put people in such a great position, not worrying about buying hamburger, to be specific.
Exactly.
That was the difference between the parties in the last election. But now what I'm seeing, Canadians are aware, we are seeing a tension now over energy that has one province, my son's sitting in it right now, looking to maybe leave Confederation. It used to be just Quebec when we were younger, but now the West is angry. I don't see the need for this anger. What I mean is, I don't see why Ottawa is trying to create this anger.
Yeah. Well, it's not 2015 anymore, and you've got to give up on your net zero nonsense, which Mark Carney is very well known for. He's the granddaddy of some of the stuff. So when you come out and say you're going to build a national corridor of energy, and you're going to be an energy superpower, and everyone's fine with that because they also know it means that oil and gas, we get to export more of it because we have a hell of a lot of it. The rest of the world really wants it more from us than from other places. And then we turn around and say, oh, but there has to be a social license. There has to be, we know it to be a national interest, but we're going to give provinces the ability to have a veto. Well, that's crazy. That means a handful of miscreants can go around and say no, absolutely not, but at the same time saying, well, it's okay, we'll pay $34 billion bucks. In the case of British Columbia, who used every tool in the toolbox to wreck the Trans Mountain pipeline expansion, which had been given and passed all the rigorous requirements to build a pipeline. We still tried to stop them and block them. We allowed fanatics and miscreants and globally paid climate nut jobs to come in and try to stop this thing. And we had a British Columbia government that come out and said, we will do everything in our power to stop it. It costs you and I $34 billion bucks. There's 42 million people in this country. That means we're out $1,000 ahead. Now, when is British Columbia planning to pay that back? Or some of the climate grifters and some of their foundations, the Suzuki Foundation, that go on, we think of the ones that have been used, that have been around for quite some time, that I've known over time. These are individuals and organizations that pay to create and disrupt, even when there is legal permission. So what it says, Mark Carney sitting down with the provinces, yeah, I'll give you your energy corridor, but I'm going to let NDP, I'm going to let the NDP in British Columbia, and I'm going to let the Bloc Québécois, the Parti Québécois, whoever in Quebec to say there's no social license. If that's the case, then of course Alberta's going to be upset. Alberta pays the fair share of the equalization in this country through their taxes. They punch way above their weight. But if Quebec's going to use the 13 billion bucks because it can claim cheaper rates for energy as a means of gaming the equalization formula and take that money out of Alberta, while at the same time saying, no, Alberta, we're not going to allow a pipeline to cross our territory. because there is no social license or because there's no consensus, or British Columbia that won't allow a northern gateway going to the northwest because it's crossing our territory. And Mark Carney says that's the conditions. Sounds like he's going to try to use the province to blame what he really wants, and that's to stop these pipelines. Now, it's good because we know Mark Carney and his company, Brookfield, has just bought the largest pipeline in the world, Colonial Pipeline. They've also bought pipelines in Brazil, bought pipelines in United Arab Emirates, have coal plants, have coal operations. These folks are doing what no one else is able to do. Apparently, they probably got the carbon credit market, in their own corner. But the issue here for Mark Carney is simple: keep, dangling those threats and those conditions and those escape conditions for provinces like British Columbia and Quebec to block pipelines, while at the same time trying to build an electricity grid, which we can't build. It's very expensive, in the trillions of dollars. Then I think you're going to find out that it's not separation or Alberta alienation that I'd be concerned about. It's that Alberta rightly feels it's getting a raw deal. It's being kicked in the teeth while it's willing to help the rest of the country. I'm not from Alberta. I don't know many people in Alberta, but I can tell you, if your neighbor did that to you, you wouldn't be very happy with them, and you'd probably want to keep your distance. And I think that's what Alberta is trying to do right now.